Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And a wonderful morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. Actually, we call this studio R2. Now then, our guest this morning to discuss a matter that is bothering the public is Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. Good morning to you, Mr. Dinesh, and welcome on board Newsline.
Morning.
And I see the Rajagiriya flyover has not kept you waiting this morning. Is that because you got up earlier to avoid the traffic, or did it deliver?
Faraz, extra lanes have been produced now. Move.
Oh, really?
In addition to the bridge.
In addition to the bridge.
So one could move fast.
I see.
A good, I think, a practical move.
Right. Well, they could have made it. They could have put the flyover in the wrong direction to start with. They could have put it the other way.
There's big debate on that.
Yes, well, it was something that there will be specialists evolving around that problem now, and for years. So there's nothing we can do now about it.
Difficult.
But underneath there, when you pass through the other direction, have you noticed what they've done underneath? Is it a car park now, or is it not a car park? Is it an empty space?
Still empty.
Still empty. They'll need some specialist consultants to tell them what to do with that.
Before any vehicles are parked.
Right.
I remember even in Devali it took months and months to get permission for
that's right.
vehicles to park.
That Devali flyover, I can tell you personal experience on a daily basis, is an absolute disgrace, waste of time, waste of money, and at approximately 9 times more than the going rate for that type of bridge is an absolute wanton waste. But now then, why are you opposing, why are you sounding the alarm signals about this proposed Judiciary Act? It's a bill at this stage, isn't it? What's so wrong about that? What's so wrong about appointing special courts and so on?
No, the issue is not on special courts.
Right.
There is a laid-down procedure in the Constitution clearly, where the judiciary enjoys its independence and how they have been protected in the procedures that are adopted. For example, the powers of the Attorney General to prosecute, powers of the police to prosecute. Now, when those are being taken away or to share with another body, now in this proposal, amendment is for the bribery commissioner to enjoy those rights along with the Attorney General. So that is totally deviating from the laid down procedure, and thereafter it can be used for various political ends, I would say. The Constitution gives all the necessary protection to the Attorney General. He is a constitutional appointment. Equality is one of the key clauses of our Constitution, which gives all the citizens the right on equality. Here, when you pick and choose, AG decides on certain matters, bribery commissioner decides on certain matters, maybe equal or the same or the similar issues. Different decisions may be made.
So your concern is that this splitting or the introduction of a new entity that be able to prosecute, and that is the bribery commission.
It is correct. I think the Attorney General's powers should not be devalued in any form, and also the powers of the Supreme Court to decide on the number of courts, where courts are being held, etc. It's also very important that is being laid down for us right along. Right along, more than a century today.
Could it be argued, Mr. Gunawardena, that this is being done also as a matter of expediency, because the the Attorney General's department is so, it's, overflowing, isn't it, with cases?
No, I don't think.
To start.
I don't think the whole thing is as one or two cabinet ministers announced a few months ago that they will bring all the necessary people, their political opponents, before a special court. Now, thereafter comes the amendment to the.
So it has become chillingly true.
It's chillingly true, and they are badly exposed today. How can this happen? Now the FCID also, which is a special body created. It's not a body created by Parliament, according to the laws.
But
of
it's
the land.
a unit of the police.
It has been gazetted under the police ordinance. But the whole process, as we have discussed, we have been objecting to this. There are so many cases filed before courts on this matter. It started also with political patronage, political guidance of those who are holding office. That's how FCID started, and the manhunt that they have been involved in is totally different to any other investigation.
But isn't it, okay, I hear what you say, but I also want you to tell me, then who will investigate these allegations of wrongdoing?
Whoever investigates is another. There are special commissions, etc., which could be appointed. Those matters are handled finally by the AG's department.
But in the case of the FCID, it is to do with, a lot of it is to do where the focus is on a potential breach of the money laundering rules. And that unit is headed by someone who obviously, hopefully, and does know whose speciality is in that field. And so this is a very specialist subject when you're looking at pumping and dumping in the stock market and so on and so forth. There are I'm sure you'll agree that not your average police station isn't going to be able to have that expertise to look into it. So you need a specialist unit. In the UK, of course, you have that. You have the Serious Frauds Office, and they look at that, that other special and very specialized subject. So, isn't this on the same lines?
No, I don't think I could agree, but the principle what you're saying is correct. There has to be specialized units as the world develops and moving to new transactions, money laundering, etc. But FCID is not only tackling that. They are chasing behind public officials, on trivial matters. Entire public service.
Who are they to decide what is trivial and not? I mean, they must look at it with the cold neutrality of a judge.
Correct.
And therefore, whatever comes their way, if it falls within that remit for which they've been set up, then they must investigate and send the file to the AG to decide if they ought to prosecute or not.
Yeah, now, who decides? Who sends the file? Who sends the advice? Is very clear.
Right.
There's a totally outside. Was a committee of political politicians or the government.
But Mr. Dinesh,
which went into this matter. That itself politicized the whole issue. Public servants have just been taken and remanded.
You must be a fan, I suppose. I don't know who it is because I only get numbers. It says here that as much as I don't like the Rata Sahodras, I have always had the greatest respect for Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. Please ask him how he can forget his principles when he backs MR so blindly. It has been ever so disappointing to see the guys you respected have feet of clay. How do you respond to that?
Backing MR is
blindly.
Not blindly. We are with MR and our entire alliance against the UNP, and we are proved to be correct. The UNP government is today a failure.
In your most private moments, when you're lying down on your bed or you're sitting at your study away from the Rajagiri flyover, do you think, do you have a suspicion that Mahinda Rajapaksa is racist?
I don't agree that he's a racist.
Right.
In most of the issues that came up during his time, as president, he moved fast. And
sometimes too fast. Do you remember what happened in Ratupaswala?
Ratupaswala
People were asking for water, for heaven's sake, nothing else.
Ratupaswala, of course, there is a different story. What I'm talking about is communal issues.
Yes, like
every time he moved fast, he moved fast as president. We're not waiting. Wherever he could,
what happened
immediately. Alutgama also he moved fast, went to the spot, met all parties, discussed whether he was criticized or whether he was abused. He listened, agreed, solved the issue.
Why, if you say that that's what he did, why couldn't he do the same in the former conflict areas? Why is it that he remains deeply unpopular there?
Faraz, now let us remember that over 300,000 people cross from the LTT area controlled areas to government controlled areas. That was under President Rajapaksa. All of them are protected. Even the UN agencies, commended Sri Lanka government for that operation. They went back.
That doesn't stop. That doesn't absolve him from the charges being made against him that he didn't really do enough. Okay. So the armed forces made sure that those people were safe. And yes, thank God, etc. Good. However, what happened thereafter? That was the war came to the end in 2009. He was removed from office by the public in 2015. He had a good 5 years. Take away the bits and pieces. 5 solid years.
Faraz.
What did he do with that opportunity that was presented to him, that fell on his lap, really, that opportunity?
I think restoring life and livelihood in the north and east under Rajapaksa was the fastest, I would say. Not just trying to praise him. Compare with any other country. Compare with Indochina, landmines. In order to get it cleared, it took 20-30 years. Even today, some of the landmines are being cleared. Highest priority had to be given for people to move back to their villages, mined areas. And the UN has commended our fast-track operation, to which they helped some of the countries. First, demine, restore.
When did you last go to the north?
I have been going on and off.
Then you must have seen these little children with threadbare clothes, people living in mud huts, people living in, you'd have to call them a home, but it's not. It's
temporary sheds, polythene sheds.
That's right, and takarang sheets that are rotted. There are approximately, in total, including the tsunami affected in the south, including the people who were expelled from Mana and so on, who are living in the Putlam area, and the former conflict areas, a total of 137,000 homes are required. This figure hasn't really changed since the end of the war. Now then, what did you all do? You've 5 years, 5 solid years. What happened?
We have settled thousands of people after demining. Agriculture was restored, infrastructure was restored, all schools and hospitals were restored, general life was restored. I must ask you, I have to tell you, there was Indian line of credit for housing. This government accuses each other, cabinet ministers. The TNA accuses the minister accuses the cabinet, the TNA. Where are the houses? Why are they blocking the houses being given to these people?
at what an appropriate juncture to take a break. When we come back, we'll discuss what the joint opposition is doing about the housing for the needy. Don't go away, this is Newsline.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz, Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline, where we have with us today Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. Somebody, one of our viewers, called you Ratu Sahodre and so on, and but said that they have the highest respect for you. Now then, you were talking about this Indian line of credit for the housing in the north, and that there is trouble between the different parties. Bottom line is, the people who want it are still homeless, are still living in huts and sheds and temporary shelter. And the children have no proper schools to go to, or they can't go, they've got to go from somewhere. Right? They can't be just lying around in pavements and so on. And the problem is there. It has been there since the end of the war, and it's still there. Now then, if you and your band of parliamentarians, joint opposition, why can't y'all? Yesterday I heard Vasudeva Danyakara say that y'all are willing to help form a government, provide from the opposition, but that they must first get rid of the Prime Minister. This is almost like inviting somebody home for dinner and then not giving them anything to eat at all. Why can't you all be more responsible and join forces in the overriding national interest? Why can't you back the President and say, right, here, let's put everything else on the side and let's move forward? Why can't you do that? Remember that this present Speaker said at the time that he crossed over and joined Minder that he did so to help because Minder needed the support to tackle the war. That was his explanation then. And he's not want to change his words. So in that same kind of vein, why can't you all do that now?
Of course, the mandate that the UPFA got under Mahinda's leadership contest in the last general election, 45 of them did go with President in order to get a UNP Prime Minister and UNP government policies to restore the country, as they said. Where are we today? You know, we are in economic crisis, monetary financial crisis, collapse of confidence for investors. So, if we are to evolve a new consensus political situation of a government, this is the first step that we are proposing. The UNP leadership has failed to run government and the country. People have rejected them.
Yes, but you all are fanning those frustrations and not trying to douse them by making sort of almost unachievable sort of request, because you must take. Why can't you take the overriding national interest? It's clear that there is a problem when a brand new party of some months in existence comes in and basically stuffs the mainline political parties. So there's obviously the people's frustration is there. Now, why can't you all take the higher part and put these other differences aside for another political arena, for another political day, and instead take pity on the people who actually, some of whom have voted for you all as well. Take pity on these people and deliver to them what they really want. Mr. Dinesh, for heaven's sake, you come from an area where there's lots of coconut plantations, son. It's 100+ rupees for a coconut, for heaven's sake. You can't even have your post sambal and rice anymore.
Polgadia.
My 3-wheel park on the top of the road where we live, says that he's done away with one meal. And whenever I see him in the morning, this haunts me, because he said that he can't have breakfast and lunch, so he's positioned himself in the middle. He has brunch now. It sounds lovely, you use this nice phrase, brunch and all that. But the fact is he's missing one meal, and his people have been reduced to that level. And it's 100 rupees more. It's 100 rupees, unthinkable.
Yes.
And then you all are just sitting there and arguing. Why can't you deliver?
Yeah, to deliver one has to have a policy that could be successful and fruitful. Mismanagement for 3 years is enough of a story that should now end. And to end that, we have proposed a new alternative. That is, the SLAP should head a government with others supporting them, with new policies, new trust, confidence for the country. That is the beginning of an economy that can grow.
Yes, but we've got already now, this government have got the basics in place. People can protest without being shot at. People don't disappear anymore. People are not being shot at. Journalists are not being shot at. There are, admittedly, other ways that they are trying to get at us and so on, at the journalists and the media. But there is, in that sense of the word, there is a real independence. And of course there is freedom. There's true freedom now. Nowadays people can express themselves. We can live life to the fullest, probably. There are adupadus, yes, we know that.
Like the Bulgaria.
Yes, but the fundamentals are there. We can now, most papers can write, publish, disseminate information, even though the Prime Minister doesn't like some of the editorials and all that, but people are not being, the editor of the island is not being taken away and dumped somewhere in Dompe, and hasn't had to leave the country a la Keith Noyer, right? Some have not, or most of us have not ended up like Lasanta, poor chap that he is he died in the pursuit of the truth. So all that's there. That's what this government have done. But like choosing a GM for a hotel, that's a new hotel. You have a GM before the hotel opens, and then you have a GM that knows how to operate a hotel. These are two different. So I think that they've done all this. Now they have run into trouble. You need to think about the bigger picture and support the president instead of giving sort of all unachievable things. What is this business about changing the Prime Minister? First do it and then get together and then change him. Why
Prime Minister's own party, Prime Minister's own members have been openly criticizing him.
Well,
now,
help
it's not
them
only
achieve it by coming together.
Yeah. Mismanagement is the real crisis of today. Mismanagement of the economy, mismanagement of governance, and mismanagement of confidence. We are just going downhill. It's not Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe or ABC. It is the policies that he practices. It is the programs that he has launched. Everything has become a failure. Therefore, a new set of governance has to come in. Now, I agree with some of what you said, but you did not mention that we suffered 30 years. You and I wouldn't have moved out.
As though I quite agree, and that is something that the nation will forever and a day after that be grateful to the fact that the war on terror was finished with, and that Mahinda Rajapaksa was the president then, and he had the resolve to do that, for which we are ever so grateful. Nobody will ever take that away from him. However, that doesn't give him the right, or his family the right, to go on some mantra about we won the war, we won the war. The people got fed up of that mantra.
No, I don't think I'm trying to say that.
Yeah.
It is the freedom. Freedom, if you say, was reborn. It was reborn then.
Yes.
Everyone was in fear. Children going to school, parents were in fear. Anyone traveling in a bus.
Whilst that fear,
that was one because
the terrorist fear was lost. Then came the fear psychosis, which Mrs. Kumaratunga once told us about. Right? There came thereafter this all-pervasive blanket of a fear psychosis. People couldn't talk openly. You would be hard pushed to have a conversation in a tea shop or a coffee shop or wherever, or in a wine bar or wherever. They just didn't want to. They'd look at you and think you're completely mad to talk about that. Today, it's a national pastime. And it has become so much that Facebooks and all that business is...
all that is stopped now.
Well, that's stopped, but they'll come back. I think
It'll have to come back.
Night.
It has to come back.
It will come
Emergency must be lifted.
Yes.
You see?
Now, I hope that you all are keeping these matters in focus, in sharp focus.
Very much, and in Parliament and outside, we want the government to restore normalcy. That is the most important. So that what you're saying, public discussions, public agitations, tear gas,
and there's one
water
thing that
cannons,
you all
all
didn't
can
do.
move in.
I'll tell you, there's one thing that you all didn't do. And unfortunately, it appeared that it gained currency and life during the last bits of the Rajapaksa government, which you were part of. And that is the dreaded 3 letters, BBS. They came here and they wanted to gamble away with that very piece that you just spoke about, this ending of terror and so on, when Sri Lanka could live life to its fullest again, which you all did. And then comes along this bunch of extremists who have only one thing on their mind: hate. Acting in a completely and utterly manner which is contrary to all religions, not only to Buddhism and Hinduism and Christianity and Islam and so on. The most normal things that people virtually take for granted in a free world, they came to usurp that, and they were given life. Why didn't you all crush them off at the time?
Why not? We moved very fast. When they were really involved in incidents which were breaking the law, our government moved. Even President, as I mentioned before, President himself involved himself and went to the spot, not delaying in solving issues. So we have not been totally or in any way supporting the BBS. BBS is an extreme organization, that is clear. There are extreme organizations in various forms in the country, but that is not the politics of democracy that we are playing. We stand for democracy. We have to protect the lives of all our citizens.
Do you agree that the most extreme organization in terms of corruption in this country today, as we speak, is none other than the leadership of the United National Party?
It's very clear. The issue is bonds, central bank bond issue. 3 years we have fought. The opposition fought. Your institution, your channels have given coverage. If not for the JO, this biggest fraud of our country would never have come out. Even today, it is at standstill. We can't get the former governor back. He's not coming back.
There's one chap who said that he'd gone for a wedding and he came back, so that same chap ought to be held responsible.
So many chaps have said so many things.
Will you do the nation a big help? Will you ask the question in Parliament? Will you please ask the question in Parliament? And there's no brown envelopes for this question, okay? Will you please ask whether the Prime Minister, we'll have to ask 2 questions. One is, has the Prime Minister ever gone to the residence of Arjuna Mahendran / Arjuna Aloysius in a Flower Road between September and December 2016? Second question, How many times has Arjuna Mahendran been entertained or been a guest of the Sri Lankan ambassador, High Commissioner in Singapore?
In Singapore, that's right.
Officially, unofficially, privately or officially. And did the Prime Minister meet Mr. Mahendran and or his family members in Singapore on the last visit when he went to attend some business forum? Would you please
That's a good
ask
question to put to the Prime Minister.
I hope you will ask him.
We've been asking so many questions from the Prime Minister and the government on the bond related, governor,
But please ask him
ex-governor.
these questions.
These questions also could be put to him.
Please ask him.
Put to him. We will.
Put
It's
it-
only the
put it on the spot.
JO who was able to ask these questions.
Yeah. Well, on that note, it's been an absolutely marvelous half an hour. It's a little bit over as well. But thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Deshmukh.
Faraz.
We really appreciate your candor and your ability to come here. Rajagiriya flyover notwithstanding. Thank you very much. And that's the way it was on Newsline on Thursday, the 15th of March 2018. Thank you for your questions. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.